This happened a few weeks ago. I just turned 22 and decided to spend Christmas in my hometown with my grandparents. After finishing college, I thought it would be nice to relax in that old house where I made so many memories. I wasn't sure if I was ready for the nostalgia, but I figured it would be fine. The house is at the end of a gravel driveway, surrounded by snowy pines. The holiday lights flickered on the porch. Inside, the living room smelled like gingerbread and fresh pine. I thought I'd settled into a simple, happy holiday, but things quickly took a weird turn. On Christmas Eve, I woke up in my childhood bedroom. The moonlight was bright through the window. That's when I first heard it, laughter. A child's laughter. It echoed from the attic. At first, I thought maybe I was dreaming, but the sound seemed too real. I tried to shake it off and get back to sleep, but the laughter lingered in my mind. Then, over the next few days, it happened again. I was sitting in the living room when I heard it, a giggle, soft yet clear. Maybe it's just a prank by the neighbors, I told myself. But then I heard a whisper. It seemed to call my name. I felt a chill in the air. I didn't take the steps to investigate, but my curiosity started to grow. One afternoon, I found an old toy soldier propped up against the couch. It was dusty and faded. I tucked it away, thinking maybe my little cousins were playing games. Then I noticed old toys in other places too, like that weird doll with eyes that seemed to follow me. But no one else was here. It was just me. I couldn't understand how they got there. While I was rummaging through a closet, I stumbled upon a dusty scrapbook. It had pictures of family members I didn't recognize. I flipped through it, and my breath caught in my throat. Some of the faces looked familiar, but others made me question everything I knew about my family. There were names of siblings I had never heard mentioned. I felt uneasy. I tried to brush it all off, maybe I was just stressed from school, but deep down, I felt something was off. It was like the house was holding secret stories of its past, whispering them to me, teasing my memory. I didn't know why I had the need to know more, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Then, on the last night, I heard the laughter again. It was louder this time, echoing through the halls. I had to find out what was going on. I waited in silence. I felt a mix of fear and fascination. I thought I could handle it. When I opened the attic door, everything went black. I stumbled forward. My heart raced. I could hear whispers now, more than one voice. I strained to see in the dark. Then, a light flickered. I squinted. The room was filled with broken toys, old clothes, and what looked like photos. But what shocked me were the faces. Young, cheerful faces. I couldn't breathe. They looked like me, but younger. I reached for a photo of a girl who looked just like my sister. "Who are you?" I shouted. A chorus of laughter erupted around me, filling the space. The light intensified. I felt cold hands grabbing at me, pulling me away. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then, in the distance, I heard a familiar voice, my grandmother calling my name. Everything went dark again. I woke up back in my bedroom, confused and cold. I still hear the laughter sometimes, echoing in my dreams. I can't stop thinking about what I saw. I don't think I'll ever be back there again. The next few days blurred into one another, each marked by the strange laughter that haunted my dreams. I did my best to distract myself. I helped my grandparents with holiday preparations and tried to immerse myself in the festive atmosphere. But under the surface, my mind was racing. It was New Year's Eve when I decided to leave the house one last time before I went back to school. I took a walk through the woods behind the house. The snow crunched under my boots as I made my way deeper into the trees. I hoped the fresh air would clear my mind. But as I wandered, I stumbled upon a small clearing. There, half hidden by snow-covered shrubs, was an old wooden swing hanging from a tree. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years, but a strange sense of familiarity washed over me. I approached it hesitantly, and as I did, I heard that laughter again. This time it sounded closer, almost playful. "Just the wind," I whispered to myself, trying to calm my racing heart. I tried to convince myself to leave, but something pulled me closer to the swing. I brushed the snow away and sat down. The swing creaked under my weight, and suddenly, I felt a chill as a tiny hand brushed against my shoulder. I swung around, my heart racing. No one was there. Just the stillness of the trees around me. I forced myself to breathe, telling myself I was being ridiculous. But as I got up to leave, I noticed something glinting in the snow beneath the swing. I knelt down and uncovered what looked like an old locket. I opened it, and my breath caught in my throat. Inside was a picture of a little girl, a girl who looked just like me when I was younger. The same round face, the same sparkling eyes. My hands trembled as I clutched the locket tightly. This couldn't be real. I stood up and hurried back towards the house, a mix of fear and curiosity pushing me forward. I felt like I was being watched, as if the shadows in the trees were alive, trailing my every move. When I reached the porch, I paused, realizing I still hadn't figured out what the laughter meant or why it felt like it was leading me somewhere. As I entered the house, I noticed something strange. The front door was ajar. I swore I had closed it before I left. My heart pounded as I stepped inside. "Grandma? Grandpa?" I called softly. There was no answer. A creeping dread settled over me as I took cautious steps into the dimly lit living room. That's when I heard it again, a soft giggle coming from the hallway. I moved toward the sound, my breath hitching in my throat. Each step felt heavier than the last. As I turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of a small figure disappearing into the shadows of the attic stairs. I froze, fear washing over me like ice water. "Who is there?" I called out, my voice shaky. The laughter echoed again, ringing in my ears, almost taunting me. I took a step back. I should have run, but I was drawn into the mystery. With a deep breath, I made my decision. I needed answers. I had to find out what was happening in this house. The laughter, the toys, the locket, they were all connected somehow. I took slow steps toward the attic door, heart thumping wildly. As I reached for the handle, I felt a gust of cold air sweep past me like something was eager for me to open the door. I hesitated for a moment, then pushed it open. The light flickered on again, and I stepped inside. What awaited me this time would change everything. The attic was cramped and dimly lit. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the flickering light bulb above. Old trunks lined the walls, and boxes filled with faded decorations stood stacked in disarray. I could smell the mustiness that came with age, but there was something else, something sweet yet almost rotten lurking beneath it all. I stepped inside, cautious. "Hello." I called out again, my voice barely rising above a whisper. The laughter echoed in my mind, urging me to find what I had sensed before. A sudden gust of wind rattled the attic's window, and I jumped, my heart racing. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of movement. I turned quickly, but it was just a shadow playing tricks in the low light. I took a few more steps, determined to investigate. I walked to the nearest trunk and noticed it was slightly open. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the lid. What if it was filled with old clothes or dusty toys? Or worse, what if it led me deeper into whatever game the spirit was playing? Bracing myself, I pulled it open. Inside, I found an assortment of old photographs. I flipped through them, looking for anything familiar. My heart skipped a beat when I stumbled upon an image of the same little girl from the locket. She stood in front of a swing set, laughter captured in her eyes, sunlight catching the curls of her hair. I felt a wave of recognition wash over me, but just as quickly, an image of another girl flickered in my mind, a girl from my childhood that I had almost forgotten. I wiped my sweaty palms on my jeans and continued to dig, pulling out an old, ragged teddy bear. The eyes looked almost alive, and I shivered, recalling the sound of giggles again, closer this time. The air grew colder as I turned around to survey the attic once more. That was when I noticed the end of the room was now lit by a dim light, a push-button lamp that somehow flicked on without me. Slowly, I approached it, trepidation washing through each step. Suddenly, there it was again, the giggle. This time it felt mischievous, almost inviting. I glanced back at the trunk, my own memories wrestling with the atmosphere around me. That's when I saw a shadow dart behind the shelves in the back. Is someone there? I called louder, feeling braver or maybe just desperate to know the truth. Silence enveloped me as I took a step forward, my breath held tight in my chest. The laughter faded but left behind an aftertaste of being watched. Before I could think, I reached the back of the attic and pulled a box into the light. It was filled with dusty toys, old dolls, wooden blocks, and more stuffed animals. But there, lying loneliness among the forgotten toys, was a small notebook. Curiosity gripped me again. I opened it carefully, revealing pages full of handwriting, each line filled with thoughts from the little girl I now recognized as me. And then I spotted something, a doodle that caught my eye. It was an image of that swing, the very one in the clearing outside, just like in the photo. But it was the words beside it that made my stomach twist, "I'll always be here." I closed the notebook, my mind racing. Who, or what, was I really speaking to? And why did it feel so familiar? Just as I began to piece things together, the temperature dropped sharply. My breath fogged in the cold air. "Get out," a voice whispered softly from the shadows. Everything inside me screamed to run. But instead, I stood frozen, the notebook slipping from my fingers as dread washed over me. I was not alone in the attic anymore. A chill consumed the attic, and the whisper lingered in my ear like a haunting melody. My heart raced wildly, pounding in my chest as if trying to escape. I looked around, eyes searching for the source of the voice, but the shadows seemed to thicken, swallowing the light. Then I heard it, a faint rustle from the corner, near the old rocking chair that creaked even when still. I felt the pull of curiosity again, despite every instinct screaming at me to leave. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, though my voice trembled. "Leave," came the reply, more urgent this time. The air grew heavy around me, and I took a cautious step back. But then, out of the corner of my eye, something moved near the rocking chair. It was a blur, then it vanished. I forced myself to stay still, trying to figure out what I just saw. My eyes darted around the room, searching for anything I might have missed. That's when I noticed another trunk, smaller and sealed shut. It looked out of place, newer compared to the antiques sprawled around the attic. My curiosity piqued, I approached it, my hand shaking as I reached for the latch. With a soft click, the lid opened. Inside, I found an array of colorful ornaments, a mix of vibrant baubles and old-fashioned glass figures. But beneath them, a single piece of folded paper caught my attention. I pulled it out and unfolded it gently, my heart skipping as I read the words scrawled inside, "To my special friend, under the moonlight we shall play." A wave of familiarity washed over me. There was a time when the moonlit nights outside had been filled with laughter and whispers, a time when I felt invincible. But then it faded. I dropped the paper, feeling a cold sweat prickle at my neck. Who was my special friend? I asked aloud. The shadows shifted again, and I could sense something watching me. I turned back toward the rocking chair, the lingering giggle from earlier echoing in my ears. "Stay with me," it beckoned, soft and melodic, but there was an undercurrent of urgency, almost panic. "Is this a game?" I called out, my voice shaking. I could almost feel the girl's presence, a warm energy amongst the cold attic air, but it felt like a trick, a lure leading me deeper into something unknown. The fear began to claw at my insides, urging me to leave this place before it was too late. Suddenly, the rocking chair began to sway gently, back and forth with an unnatural rhythm. My breath quickened, and I stumbled back, bumping into the trunk filled with photographs. One slipped out and fluttered to the floor, landing with its image facing up. It was a picture of the swing set again, and behind it stood a girl, her familiar curls dancing in the breeze. But beside her was another figure, someone I had never seen before, a shadowy form that made my stomach drop. That was when everything went dark. The light bulb flickered violently before extinguishing itself completely, plunging me into a pitch-black void. Panic gripped me as I fumbled for the wall, my heart echoing the silence around me. "Who are you?" I cried out, my voice hollow in the dark. But the room remained silent, and the unexpected darkness pressed against me like a physical force. Then, in that oppressive stillness, I heard it again, a giggle. Only this time it was not playful, it was twisted, dripping with something sinister. My pulse thrummed loudly in my ears, and in that moment, I knew that whatever spirit was here wanted more than my company. It was time to confront the past or risk being lost in it forever. As I finally gained my bearings and stumbled forward, that giggle became a spine-chilling echo, urging me deeper into the mystery of my forgotten childhood. I stumbled forward, navigating the darkness with only the faint echo of that chilling giggle as my guide. The air felt thicker now, wrapping around me like a shroud. I reached out, hoping to grab something, anything that might anchor me. My fingers brushed against the rough edge of a shelf, and I steadied myself. "Please," I whispered, not sure if I was talking to the dark or to the girl who hovered somewhere near. "I just want to understand." A series of soft thuds echoed from behind me, and I whipped around, trying to locate the source. The rocking chair creaked loudly again, as if inviting me to sit, though I was far from convinced it was friendly. I hesitated, but then a ray of moonlight cut through the attic window, illuminating the dust particles that floated like lost memories. For a brief moment, I saw the rocking chair move slightly on its own, as though someone or something was trying to make itself known. "Who are you?" I called into the dark once more, desperation seeping into my voice. "Come play," the giggle responded, more urgent now. It was no longer a mere invitation, it felt like a demand. The warmth I had sensed earlier now felt more like a trap. I took a deep breath and turned, half expecting the ghostly figure to appear from the shadows. That scribbled note from the trunk raced through my mind: under the moonlight we shall play. Who had written it, and why did it feel so familiar? I could almost picture the light-hearted joys of those moonlit nights from my childhood, but they felt suffocated by the weight of the unknown. Steeling myself, I approached the rocking chair, determined to confront whatever was hidden in the darkness. The chill deepened as I reached for it. My fingertips brushed against the worn wood. Just then, a soft whisper filled the room. "Help me!" It was a child's voice, thin and fragile. My heart twisted painfully. "What do you need?" I asked, but the air grew cold, and the whisper evaporated into silence. At that moment, something caught my eye. On the floor, half hidden beneath the rocking chair, lay a small, intricately woven bracelet. It shimmered in the dim light like a beacon. I knelt down, the fear swirling in my stomach but curiosity nagging insistently. I reached for the bracelet. As soon as I picked it up, the attic filled with a cacophony of laughter. The giggles transformed into whispers, voices overlapping and weaving through one another. It was overwhelming. I clutched the bracelet tightly, staring at it. This wasn't just any bracelet, it felt charged, alive with energy that pulsed between my fingers. "Who is this from?" I yelled, my voice barely cutting through the chaos. In response, I felt a sudden chill envelop me. The laughter sharpened, shifting from joyful to mocking. Shadows danced around me, and then, without warning, the attic door creaked open slowly. I froze. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, barely visible but undeniably present. My breath caught in my throat as I realized it was the shadowy outline of the girl from the photograph, peering in with a wide, crooked grin. Right then, my heart plummeted. The whispers grew louder, their urgency pressing down on me, and I suddenly understood this game was darker than I had anticipated. I was no longer just a visitor in the attic, I had become a player in a haunting reflection of my past. The door creaked wider, and I felt the need to act. I had questions that needed answers, but for every step I took towards the figure, it seemed to retreat further back into the darkness. "Wait!" I called after her, desperation clawing at my throat. "I need to know." But the only response I received was a chilling laugh that echoed hauntingly around me, and a door that threatened to close. I leaned forward, peering into the darkness. The girl remained just out of reach, her twisted smile unsettling. My instincts screamed at me to back away, but the bracelet felt heavy in my grip, urging me to move closer, to understand. "Please," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm not here to hurt you." The figure paused, her silhouette flickering as if caught between worlds. I took a cautious step toward her, but instead of retreating, she stepped further into the shadows. The giggles returned, echoing off the walls, their melody growing dissonant. Suddenly, the rocking chair slung back violently, clattering against the floor. I jumped, heart racing. My mind raced back to my childhood dark nights spent imagining monsters under the bed. Those fears had felt so distant, but now they were real, tangible. "Why are you doing this?" I yelled, my voice cracking. "Come play," she taunted, the echo of her laughter twisting in the air. Each word made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The attic felt alive, as if the walls were closing in. I had to escape, but the door loomed behind me like a barrier, unwilling to let me leave. I turned back to the girl, desperation coursing through my veins. "Help me understand," I pleaded, my voice rising. The shadows flickered again. "You must play first," she said slowly, her tone dark and melodic. "Find the secret before it's too late." Before I could respond, the lights flickered ominously. A blinding flash illuminated the space for just a moment, and in that instant, I saw them old toys scattered around the floor, half buried under cobwebs. A once beloved teddy bear, its button eyes staring blankly at me. A forgotten doll with a cracked smile. I felt an intense pull towards them, memories flooding back. "Please, don't go," I called, realizing the girl was slipping away. In that brief moment of brightness, I sensed an urgency. If I didn't act fast, I would lose my chance to uncover the truth. I dropped the bracelet and rushed toward the toys. As I reached for the teddy bear, the air thickened with static. A sudden gust of wind slammed the attic door shut behind me, rattling the frame. I spun around, trapped. That's when I saw it. A trapdoor in the corner, almost hidden by shadows. It wasn't there before, was it? My heart raced. This world was shifting, and the only way to confront it was to venture deeper. I took a step toward the trapdoor just as a piercing scream sliced through the air. My hands trembled. What have I gotten myself into? I wondered, as the sound faded into an unsettling silence. With a deep breath, I gripped the handle of the trapdoor, my mind swirling with fear and determination. What lay beneath? I had to find out, if I wanted to make sense of this nightmare. I took a deep breath and yanked the trapdoor open. Dust poured out in a thick cloud, choking the air. I hesitated, peering down into the inky blackness below. The wooden steps creaked ominously as I descended, each step feeling like a choice I couldn't take back. As I reached the bottom, a chill brushed against my skin. The space felt different, smaller, more suffocating. I flicked on my phone light, the beam cutting through the darkness. The basement was cluttered with forgotten relics, old furniture, boxes piled high, and a musty smell that made me cough. But to my left, something glimmered. I turned, drawn to a small, ornate mirror resting against the wall. Its surface was cloudy, but the edges were decorated with intricate designs. Something about it felt alive. As I stepped closer, my reflection appeared hazy, distorted. I felt a strange pull, an unyielding urge to touch it. Suddenly, the air shifted. I spun around, the trapdoor was closed, trapping me in. Panic surged through me. I sprinted towards it, but it wouldn't budge. I pounded on the wood, but no one answered. I was alone, just me and whatever darkness lurked down here. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible at first. It grew louder, overlapping with soft sobs. "Why won't you play with me?" The voice was eerily familiar. My heart dropped. The memories started flooding back. A childhood friend, someone I hadn't thought about in years. She was the one who taught me about secrets and games. But this wasn't just nostalgia, something was wrong. "Go away!" I screamed, my voice wavering. Just then, the distorted mirror began to shimmer. Shapes twisted in its depths, morphing into figures that seemed to reach for me. One face emerged clearly, the girl from the attic. "You must play," she hissed, her smile now jagged, the shadows shifting around her like dancing phantoms. Suddenly, a toy chest sprang open beside me. Inside were various items, dolls, toys, and a flickering ball that seemed to pulse with energy. I knew I needed to find something that could change the game. My heartbeat thundered in my ears as I frantically searched through the chest. That's when I found it, a small, tattered book buried beneath the toys. Its cover was faded, but I could still make out the title, Secrets of the Lost Ones. My fingers trembled as I pulled it out, a small jolt of electricity coursing through me. Before I could open it, the whispering intensified. "You shouldn't have touched that," the voice echoed, deep and menacing. I turned to see the girl stepping through the swirling mist of the mirror as if the very shadows were bending to let her through. "What do you want?" I shouted, desperation flooding my gut. But instead of an answer, her laughter sliced through the thick air. The book fell from my hands, landing open on the floor, pages flipping wildly. Then everything went dark. The shadows closed in around me. I was plunged into silence, the weight of the darkness pressing down, suffocating. I stood frozen, heart racing, trying to remember how to breathe. And as hope faded, a new feeling crept in: dread. I blinked, my eyes struggling to adjust as the dark receded, revealing the basement once again. But it was different. The flickering light from my phone illuminated the area, and I saw the mirror was now a deep shade of inky black, the figures inside shifting restlessly. I glanced around. The toy chest was closed, but the book lay open on the ground, its pages wavering as if caught in a breeze that didn't exist. I crept closer, my heart pounding. What secrets were hidden in those pages? Then, a fleeting sound caught my attention, an unsettling giggle. I whipped my head toward the mirror. The girl's smile had morphed into something grotesque, her eyes dark pits of shadow. "You're still here," she whispered, her voice sweet but laced with malice. Without thinking, I grabbed the book and flipped through the pages. They were filled with cryptic drawings and bizarre symbols. My fingers traced the words, "The Lost Ones play for eternity." I glanced back at the girl. "What does that mean?" "You'll find out soon," she said, tilting her head in a way that made my skin crawl. "But first, you must play." The words felt like a command rather than an invitation. I took a step back, fear bubbling in my throat. "I'm not playing anything with you," I shouted, my voice breaking slightly. "Not yet," she replied, her smile widening. "But the game will come to you." The air grew colder as she stepped closer, a murky fog swirling around her. I felt a chill snake down my spine. Was it her? Or something else? The basement felt alive, the shadows twisting as if they could devour me whole. I sprinted towards the trapdoor, frantically pounding on it. "Let me out." But my fists only echoed against the wood. Panic surged, and I turned back to the mirror. The girl was gone, but the reflection showed an endless expanse of darkness where my own face should be. I swallowed hard, my breath hitching. That's when I noticed the chest behind me again. It was slowly creaking open, beckoning me closer. I hesitated, torn between leaving and figuring out what was happening. Curiosity won out, and I approached the chest, feeling its weighty presence. Inside, something else lay hidden, something that pulsed with a faint light. I could barely catch my breath as I reached in and pulled out what looked like an old-fashioned compass, its needle spinning wildly. As I held it, the air shifted again. The whispers grew louder, an angry chorus of voices that filled me with dread. "You're not ready," they chanted. "You haven't played yet." Just like that, the compass needle steadied, pointing directly at the distorted mirror. I felt an unexplainable pull, an unsettling mix of fear and intrigue. What did this mean? Suddenly, the shadow of the girl loomed back inside the mirror, her laugh echoing in the confined space. "The game has begun." I stumbled back, the compass slipping from my grasp. It clattered against the ground, shattering the oppressive silence and breaking my frozen stance. The mirror glimmered ominously, revealing the contours of a second figure, also beckoning. My breath caught as I realized I was no longer alone down here. Someone else was watching. The figure in the mirror was not just any reflection. It was a boy, his face twisted in fear, like he was trapped in a nightmare. He raised a trembling hand, pointing directly at me. My heart raced. I wasn't the only one pulled into this dark game. "Help me," he mouthed, but no sound came. His eyes darted behind him, as if he sensed something lurking in the shadows of his world. "What do you want?" I called out, but my voice sounded small and weak in the gloomy basement. I took a step closer to the mirror, drawn by an urge to understand what had happened to him. The girl's laughter echoed ominously. "He can't be helped," she said, the mirth in her voice like nails on a chalkboard. "He's just another lost one, like you will be soon." I recoiled, feeling a cold sweat break out across my skin. "No. I'm not like him," I shouted, desperation seeping into my voice. I had to find a way out. I searched for an escape. The compass lay discarded at my feet, still spinning slightly, almost as if trying to communicate its purpose. I could feel the boy's gaze pleading with me to do something to save him, to save myself. Without thinking, I grabbed the compass and forced myself to look back into the mirror. The boy had stepped back, his expression shifting from fear to something that resembled hope. "The game, it's a trial," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "You have to face her to win." "Face her how?" I asked, almost to myself. The shadows thickened around the mirror, making the air feel heavy, suffocating. Suddenly, I felt the temperature drop. The darkness behind the mirror seemed to ripple, pooling like liquid night. I had to act. But before I could think through my next move, the girl lunged forward with a malicious grin, her form fluid and changing. "Playtime is my favorite," she shrieked, her laughter spiraling into a high-pitched cackle that clawed at my sanity. All at once, the basement grew darker, the corners swallowing the light from my phone. As panic set in, I looked at the compass again. I pointed it toward the mirror. It might be my only tether to reality. "What do I have to do?" I shouted, hoping to drown out the girl's wild laughter. But the compass needle began to spin wildly again, and the boy in the mirror clutched his head, as if he were in pain. "You must confront the truth," he screamed before the girl yanked him away, ripping him from my sight. "No," I cried, my heart pounding in my chest. I felt an overwhelming rush of anger and fear. I couldn't just let this happen. The girl reappeared in the mirror, her expression warped with triumph. "You're next," she taunted. My breath hitched as I saw myself reflected back not in the dim light, but in 1,000 twisted forms, each more horrifying than the last. I had to break the spell. Gripping the compass tightly, I shouted, "I'm not afraid of you." But as I did, the darkness surged toward me, a torrent that felt alive, like fingers trying to snatch me into the void. In that moment, I made a choice. I had to dive into the mirror. But as I took a step forward, the world around me shattered into darkness. Just before I fell, I caught one last glimpse of the boy's terrified face, and I screamed. Then everything went dark. I felt a jolt, as if I had been pulled through a tunnel and spat out the other side. I gasped for breath, the cold air slicing against my skin. I struggled to sit up, heart racing. I was back in the attic, light flickering above my head as if nothing had happened. It felt too calm, too quiet after the chaos I'd just experienced. Confused, I looked around. The old toys I'd rummaged through lay scattered on the floor, untouched. The mirror was gone. I scrambled to my feet, half expecting the girl to leap from the shadows, but all I could hear was my own breathing echoing off the walls. Was it just a dream? I wondered aloud. But the shivers running down my spine told me otherwise. It felt too real, the girl, the boy, the laughter. It all lingered in my mind like an unresolved melody, something I had run from but could not escape. I made my way to the attic door. My heart pounded as I opened it, the stairs creaking underfoot. Descending felt daunting. I wasn't sure if I could leave or if the darkness would pull me back. Pushing through, I found myself in the familiar hallway. It felt different though, as if the walls were holding their breath. Then a flicker caught my eye, a shadow darting down the corridor toward the living room. "Is anybody home?" I called, but the silence answered me. I stepped gingerly, each footfall heavy with dread. As I entered the living room, the remnants of holiday decorations felt oddly out of place, the cheerful colors jarring against the dark emotions swirling inside me. That's when I noticed it sitting on the table was the old locket I had discovered in the clearing. Its surface was scratched but glimmered faintly in the light. I picked it up with trembling fingers. The picture of the girl I recognized was still there, looking just as innocent, the glint of mischievousness still hinting in her cheerful smile. I felt nausea swirl in my stomach. Memories began to surface, laughter, the stories, everything I had brushed aside. My instincts told me to return to the clearing, seek solace in the swing where I had found the locket. Maybe there was an answer waiting for me amidst the trees. Stepping outside, the snow crunched beneath my boots as I re-stepped into the world I had once known. The quietness of the woods wrapped around me like a familiar embrace, but everything felt fraught with importance. I had done wrong by turning away. Reaching the clearing, I gazed at the swing, half buried beneath snow. A gust of wind tossed the branches, and in that moment, I thought I heard laughter again, faint but real. "Please," I whispered into the stillness, my heart racing. "What do you want from me?" Silence answered, but then the locket began to warm against my chest, that familiar presence brushing past my shoulder. My breath hitched as I looked around. Maybe I didn't just have to confront what I had feared, maybe I needed to stay open to the memories I had left behind. With newfound determination, I sat on the old swing. As I began to rock gently back and forth, it felt as if time wrapped around me, the laughter intertwining with the present. Yet, somewhere deep in my heart, I knew that this journey wasn't over. What had happened in the attic, the boy in the mirror, those things would stay with me like shadows on the wall. I grabbed the locket, felt its warmth, and remembered the faces I had seen, the laughter, the games. I moved to leave but paused, glancing back at the swing one last time. Had I unlocked something? Was I free, or had I merely begun to play a new game? As I set off toward the house, the distance felt more significant than ever, both between the past and the present and the lingering mystery of what it meant to truly play. I still think about it sometimes, how I stepped into that world and what awaited. I never went back to my grandparents' house. It felt safer to leave those echoes behind, but I still carry the warmth of the locket and the laughter in the wind. Some nights I lay awake, wondering if someday I'll understand the truth, or if the shadows will come back to haunt me, seeking another player to join their game.